welcome to The Natural View. I'm Maggie Jacqua, Editor-in-Chief of Whole Foods Magazine, and I'm joined by Todd Powley and Nathan Gray, and we are here to talk about our next naturally informed virtual event powered by Whole Foods Magazine and Trust Transparency Center. And our topic is driving value through sustainability across the supply chain. So Todd, we're here to fill you in.
I love the topic, but first of all, I want to back up just a second because the last time we talked, we were previewing your first event, which was your first digital event about immune health, and I attended. It was widely attended. It was a great speaker list. It seemed like a great event to kick this series off. And so now you're transitioning. Tell me a little bit about why you guys chose sustainability as a focus.
Well, obviously, sustainability is a huge issue impacting every aspect of the supply chain from farm to shelf. We know that consumer interest is high and behaviors and attitudes have been shifting, with consumers really looking at companies and businesses that are supporting the triple bottom line and people, planet, the environment, and social issues. So we want to help educate and inform on these topics. Obviously, there is a lot of innovation going on the ingredient side that Nathan is taking a deep dive into, all the way through what retailers are doing in the stores to help get these products out. And obviously our industry, this is what we're about. This is what we're interested in. This is what our goals are. So we're here to help spread information. We have an amazing lineup of speakers on a variety of topics, starting with some fantastic back-end things on day one that Nathan can kind of fill you in on.
Yeah, absolutely. And, it's I completely agree with Maggie there. Sustainability is just one of those issues that's so important for the whole industry and for the planet. And, it's something that I think people tend to talk about, but they don't tend to, people have for a long time talked about sustainability and sort of the way that they take off things like CSR. And, it seems more of a tick box thing that companies have to do rather than something that actually informs their business value. Yeah. So what we were trying to do is talk about ways that people can actually approach sustainability in a way that drives real value into their business through sustainability. And day one is really looking at the upper end of the supply chain in that. So we're looking through core issues of sustainability and sourcing ingredients and manufacturing foods, drinks, and supplements in that better for you and natural food space. So we've got a real innovation on investment and sustainable solutions, and all of the world-class speakers that we've got are going to really tie that together. So we've got a wonderful keynote from Josh Tickell, who's the director of the new Kiss the Ground movie, and he's going to be talking about the importance of regeneration to the industry and beyond the industry. So his movie's really fantastic. The trailers look amazing. I've not seen much more of it, but he's got a 45-minute section where he's going to be really talking about the global regenerative movement. It's going to be mind-blowing from what I've heard from him, and I'm really looking forward to his talk and to the movie coming out in a few weeks' time. Some of the other things we're going to be talking about include new technologies and the investment and innovation landscape around sustainability. We're seeing so many cool food tech companies and startups gaining huge amounts of investment in this food tech sustainability space. So that's a really interesting area to look at and talk about how those companies are approaching sustainability and actually generating business value through sustainability. One of the other things that we're going to be talking about is the supply chain, but and I don't mean to be crude here, but we've heard so much about things like palm oil and coffee and cocoa over the years, and what we wanted to do was take some of that, but talk more on things like botanicals and that value-added ingredients, because there's a whole plethora of issues around sustainable sourcing in these other supply chains, which doesn't get as much airtime as things like palm oil. And that's not belittling the need for palm oil and sustainability at all, but we thought it was really important to call that out. So we're doing a full session on those sort of sustainable best practices for these botanical ingredients. And that really builds nicely into our final session on day one, which is looking at generating value from waste. And, there's the whole upcycled food movement, which is really, really growing. And there's the talk that, the next billion-dollar unicorns in the global food startup scenes are going to probably be coming from this upcycled space. So that's really fascinating to look into that. But again, food waste goes beyond the ingredient side, and we're talking about the whole green manufacturing space as well, and the way that zero waste factories and that sort of thing. So
yeah, let me ask you before we get into day two, I just
Sure.
have a quick question, because I don't know, maybe this is just me being a casual observer, but I've noticed since Trust Transparency and Whole Foods Magazine kicked off this event series, what I've seen a lot more of, whether it's blog posts, whether it's content on the website, and then of course the last event, you guys have really brought data into this, right? And I think, Nathan, I think that's a part of your role here is bringing some numbers behind some of that talk. And I thought it was interesting when you said, there's been a lot of talk about sustainability. Sometimes you might not necessarily get down to the details, but everyone, it's a checkbox. Yeah, we're for it. Can we expect that same sort of rigor in terms of bringing data, bringing some numbers to help people understand the issues, just like you have been pulling through?
That's the hope, and that's my job as the host for day one, is to try and drive a lot of that. Of course, we're not in control of everything that everyone presents, but the people that we're bringing in are here to speak about that and here to drive home the value there. And it might not all be raw data and figures, much that like some of the blog posts that I've been doing recently have been really focused on the data, like you say. And we will definitely dig into a lot of data, but equally I think it's just as important to take that step back and look at the big picture and try and connect the dots and actually join it back to business strategy. Which, again, if you're so focused on sort of ticking these boxes of sustainability, sometimes you miss the detail in the data, and sometimes you miss the big picture of the wider business goals as well. And actually trying to join those two up in that day one environment is really what I'm trying to do.
Yeah, I love that. I love being able to give people this detailed view, zoom out to show how that might actually drive business strategy for them. That's kind of it's a big step past just, hey, we believe in sustainability, let's try to strive for it. We're not necessarily sure of a plan. It sounds like people are going to come out of this with some details that they can start to put a plan into action. So that's great. That sounds very informative for day one. I'm excited. So Maggie, what about day two?
On day two, we're going to step back again and look at regenerative agriculture. And we have Thomas Newmark from the Carbon Underground, who's going to present the keynote. And he actually just wrote an essay for Whole Foods Magazine where he talks about the link of conventional farming and some of the concerns that we're seeing wider and even in pandemics and the health of the planet and the health of people. So he's going to talk about the role that regenerative agriculture can play in our health and really the big picture and helping to prevent, possibly help to prevent future pandemics. So, this is going to be a very insightful talk, and I'm really looking forward to it. We're going to look even beyond sustainability a little bit more into the Regen Ag movement. We have Kamal Bell from Sankofa Farms, who, if you haven't looked into that company yet, they're doing some amazing things. He's going to talk about some of the social issues and helping to raise the next generation of farmers into, helping us to carry this through and take it further. Bethany Davis from Mega Food also, and Diana Martin from Rodale, and they're going to talk about some of the initiatives. And I think going back to what you and Nathan were just talking about in these sessions and others, we're looking at the data and we're looking at why this is important, but we're also really talking about what are the actionable steps that companies throughout the supply chain can start implementing to not just, it's not just a theory, it's really taking action. And some of the steps are small and some of them are huge. And what this panel is going to talk about is kind of where people are on the spectrum and helping them to shift and grow and go from there. So I think that's going to be, wonderfully educational with a lot of action.
That's great.
Back to the data, Nathan actually just wrote a great blog on this and found how much consumers are focused on packaging. So Cheryl Baldwin from Pure Strategies is going to talk to us about sustainable packaging. She's going to talk about some of the progress that was being made and some of the challenges that COVID-19 has now presented. and how we can kind of regroup and move forward in the best way possible. So that's going to be great. And we know that it's huge to the consumer. This is something that they're looking at, they're touching, they're feeling, they're very engaged in. We also are talking to retailers. So we're going to be looking at what, stores, retailers are actually doing to help, locally spark change in their communities. And again, we're really going to be getting into where things were going, how COVID-19 disrupted it. Obviously, our retail partners are on the front lines here, and they're dealing with disrupted business, change business, so many challenges. So we're going to kind of explore where things are now and how we grow from here.
Excellent. Yeah, that sounds exciting. I love the fact, I don't know if you guys have this same experience, but when you go to a conference, if you remember going to conferences in person and you're spending a day.
Like a lifetime ago.
Remember that? Yeah. But you're spending a day, you're networking, you're hearing, and oftentimes what I find happens at those conferences, you come out inspired. So it might not be one particular thing. It might just be being in that environment and hearing, and you walk off with 100 ideas about your own business and how that relates. And what I like about this whole conference and what I experienced at the first one was there really is enough substance there, and you have this great speaker list. And like you said, Maggie, you're focusing on actionable items. So it sounds like people can spend a couple days with you and then walk away with, inspiration, a plan, maybe some action items that they can take away and start to change their businesses or figure out a way if they were kind of thinking about going down that path. I love this. Anything else about the events that we should talk about?
Just two more things. One, we're also going to have a panel on communicating with the consumers, and FMCG Gurus is going to be presenting data that they've gathered. And I think for everybody, absolutely everybody in the industry, it's going to help you say, like, how are we actually reaching out? What do we really need to be focusing on to help make sure that the efforts that, we're so passionate about are then seeing the all the way through and getting into the consumer's hands, and, that we're getting our messages out there and helping to spread. So that's going to be great. And you mentioned live events, which we all really miss. So one of the things that we are aiming to do with these naturally informed events is to get everybody back in the conversation. So we have two features. One is roundtables that we're going to have on both days, where attendees can register for. We've got different topics. They're up on our website, which is naturallyinformed.net. So you can, when you register for the event, or if you've already registered, you can go back in and pick which roundtable you want to be in. So please join us, come talk to us, share your ideas, learn from other people's ideas. I mean, we're all trying to help each other grow and spiral up. That's one of the things I love about this industry, is how even competitors are working to help and support each other. So that's going to be a great chance to come and network. And then for fun, if you were at the first one, we have a happy hour. And Charles Chen has given us a recipe for a really fantastic looking cocktail, and then we'll just kind of chat and blow off some steam and just get to see each other again, which we so miss doing.
I can't wait. Sounds like a great event, and look forward to seeing you later this week. Thanks, guys. Talk to you next time.
All right. Thanks, Todd.